Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous video, your home base for problems in metrics development is going to be Basecamp, which is something that most people should already be familiar with. So to get started, you're of course going to want to go to the Basecamp website, which I happen to have bookmarked here, but if you don't, you can just type basecamp.com into your URL bar. So just click here, and this will bring us to the Basecamp login page, and rather than going to the Good Judgment Inc. Basecamp, which is where a lot of the action for Create happens, the problem repository actually sits on the Create Basecamp, which is the Basecamp shared with performers. So we're just going to click here to log in, and it may ask you for your login information, but I've actually already logged in, so it takes me directly to the Create Basecamp homepage. And depending on which projects you're a part of, your homepage might look slightly different from mine, but the one thing that everyone should share once they've been added to the problem repository is this project called Create Phase 1 Problem Development. So you're just going to want to click on this project, and it will take you to the homepage for Phase 1 Problem Development. And as you can see, this page looks just like every other Basecamp project that you're a part of. You've got the campfire where you can chat with other members of the group, the message board where you can post files and information about things that are going on, docs and files where you can upload documents, schedule, check-ins, all the normal stuff. For our purposes, though, in the problem development process, all of the action that we're interested in is going to be going on this to-dos page. So if you just click here, what you'll see is a number of different lists, each of which is headed by one of these blue hyperlinks. So while this page looks a little overwhelming at first glance, the way you can think about this, and probably the simplest way to approach this page, is to think about this as a number of different work queues. So for example, this list here, called Open for Review, is a list of the problems that have recently had changes made to them that need to be reviewed by Create reviewers. So you can see there's problems 1052 through 1056, each of which need to be looked at by reviewers. Scrolling down the page, you can see there are spots for decision maker review. This is where problems will end up once the problem steward thinks they're ready to move on to the next stage and they need approval from the decision maker. There's a revise and resubmit queue, which is where you'll put problems once reviewers have given feedback and the decision maker has decided that the next step that needs to happen is for the problem to be revised and resubmitted to the repository. Similarly, there's a queue for building a problem in Qualtrics, for deploying problems for small and large-scale testing, and finally, this list called Ready to Deploy, which is where problems will sit once the decision maker has decided that they're ready to be used for Phase 1 testing. Now, as you can see, there are a few other things on this page, which I'll quickly cover, but these are a little bit less relevant to the review process. First, at the very top, there's this list called Admin Only, newly added builds. This is just basically a catch-all list where problems will automatically be populated once they're added to the master problem tracker. Now, for the purposes of reviewing and decision-making, you don't need to concern yourself with what the master problem tracker is or anything that's in this list. This is basically just an area for problems to hang out until someone has decided which of these lists they should end up in. So then again, at the bottom, there's this section here called Shelved Inactive, which is a place just where we can put problems out of the way once we've decided that maybe we don't want to pursue these problems anymore right now. So in principle, these problems are all things that we might come back to in the future, but for the moment, they're too problematic, or they're not finished, or XYZ. For some reason, we stopped work on these problems temporarily. And then finally, at the very bottom, we have this section called Superseded and Dead. And what this is just a convenient place for old versions of problems, versions that have been superseded by new versions, or problems that we really don't think are ever going to be deployed in Create. This is just a place for them all to be tucked away and not cluttering up the rest of this page here. So that's the basic overview of what you're going to see in Basecamp. As I said, if we go back to, let's see, the main page here, home page. This is going to be the main page for the Create Basecamp, which again is the Basecamp that performers have access to. You're going to want to go to this project here called Create Phase 1 Problem Development, and then to this section called To-Dos. And in this section, you're going to see a number of different queues, a number of different work queues where problems will be lined up for different stages of the development process. So these problems need reviewing. If there were problems here, these problems would need attention from a decision maker. Here, problems would be placed for revision and resubmission, Qualtrics build, pre-testing of various sizes, and then, of course, phase 1 development. For now, we're going to leave it at that. I will, in a future video, discuss how to interact with this page as a reviewer and as a decision maker. But for the moment, I'm just trying to give you the lay of the land.